I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you how to shoot it. Again, it's like no big deal. You know, hanging out with my boss at the shooting range. Yeah.
And she doesn't fire him at the end, right? She just says, you're not going to get your money. She's like, just take that off the computer, right? She doesn't fire him?
I love the audacity when he actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because actually, again, here's another way that she manipulates the situation. You know, she catches him, you know, she finds out, and then she orders him to pull his pants down so she can take a look at his member. And she's like, well, no, the guy who did it was circumcised or wasn't circumcised or something like that. But he has the audacity after he pulls his pants up to say, oh, what about the $10,000?
What a turd.
And I'm like, seriously, dude, you just, you know, you're lucky to be, yeah.
I like that they kind of made that Kurt seem sort of aggressive, though. The way he the way he takes photos is very aggressive.
I thought that was interesting because it's just like a 2-second shot of him on the balcony, like aggressively taking the model's clothes off so he can shoot her. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's a bit of a red herring, would you say?
Yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know if that's the way that would go down in real life, because that seems awfully unprofessional.
When I was making video games.
Well, back in my day when I was rendering characters, yeah.
When I was on Atari, you wouldn't believe the stuff we did.
When I was rendering Donkey Kong for Donkey Kong Country, we had to keep those apes in line. Yeah.
You know, I showed my students Fistful of Quarters for a documentary class, and they loved it. Have you watched King of Kong?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh, watch it. Yeah, watch it. It's an excellent documentary. You got me thinking about that.
I've heard it's good, yeah.
Now, would Vincent and Josie been able to afford that 2-room flat?
I think it was pretty apparent that they would not without some sort of financial assist that they were leaning on with Elle.
Was she trying to call her bluff? Like, oh, we don't need your money. But they obviously need it.
Yeah, I think she's sort of the aggressive, impulsive one, I think, of the relationship, and Vincent is much more of the passive kind of doormat character.
Mm-hmm.
He's more like the yes dear, whatever dear kind of thing. He's like Richard from Keeping Up Appearances, basically. So yeah, I think it's kind of a yin and yang thing, with Elle kind of being the median center there, kind of. She's like, well, I see through my son's BS, and I see through your headstrong BS, and I'm not gonna help you with this, you know. So you can try to call my bluff, but I know for a fact that I've been around this world a long time, and I'm not gonna help you with it, you know. Of course, I think she does in the end. I don't know if she helps him with that 2-bedroom, but there's a reconciliation at the end there.
Remember when he gets fired and he's like, I just didn't want to take the subway. Like, that's a long way to work.
Well, and I feel like he's working at kind of like a McDonald's type place too.
Yeah. So fast-tracked employment management.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the way he says it is kind of weird, because he says, I resigned.
Yeah.
You know, it's not I quit, I resigned. There's almost like a weird kind of, he's trying to make it out to be like this great, like he was working at a law office or something for years, and I was like, no, I had ethical problems and disagreements, I had to resign. But no, it's this place that serves like ice cream.
Remember when he brings out the ice cream for her and he's like, I made it myself? Is that a joke? Right? Was he seemed, I obviously he didn't make the ice cream, but he's saying that he poured it.
Like he put it in the container. Yeah.
He's an interesting character, isn't he?
Yeah, you know, I think maybe to him there's a sense of pride in that some other people might not have. It's like, oh, maybe he does like his job, and maybe he does sincerely believe there's opportunity for advancement, and that he wouldn't be struggling to help support a kid. But yeah, he is an interesting character, because I tell you what, Mark, for about 3/4 of that movie, I was thinking, man, this guy is just totally worthless. And then from that point where Elle trusts him to run the party, I was like, okay, I'm seeing a different side of him. He's starting to respect himself a little more, and you can tell he's stepping up his game. So I'm like, okay, that's good. He has an arc here. Yeah.
Now, Patrick the Stalker, he wanted to get caught.
Mm.
Would you say, because he goes back to her again. Like
Yes.
do you think, they like, remember in the beginning with the sock? So he like wipes himself and throws the sock on the ground, leaving evidence.
Oh, I missed that, but yeah.
I'm telling this movie, I Antonio Banderas'd it. I listened and watched. You can have that. If you're listening to this podcast, you can Antonio Banderas it.
You know what was interesting, Mark, is that I think I was so wrapped up in the actual action and the aftermath of the act that I wasn't thinking exactly about what he was using. So I totally missed that. I was like just kind of gobsmacked by what I was seeing, kind of. So that's good. Good.
And then he goes back and gets stabbed through the hand.
Yeah.
And then she wipes out her car after, on her way back from her dad, calls her friends. They all go immediately to voicemail. Then she calls him. And then they have this weird scene where she takes care of him. And then they eat lasagna. Her son drinks too much wine. And then they have the boiler scene. And then she brings him to a party. And then when she's at the party, I guess, when she sees Robert with Anna and other things that kind of annoy her, she actually helps out her husband there.
Oh, yeah, she does, because he has this idea for a dumb video game. Yeah.
And so she helps him out. But then she just says, I'm tired of it. Where does that light... We don't know this character. There is mysterious, but where does this light, like, click? Like, when does she... And then she... You know what's interesting, too, is at the end when she says, I'm going to call the cops. You are done. This is done. She slowly walks in front of his car. And I was like, is he going to run her over? Nope.
I love that moment because she's just so, like, again, it's kind of like the boiler or the boiler scene where she's sort of taking control of the situation. And in this moment, she's saying, I'm getting out of the car. I'm going to walk away and you can't do anything about it. So what are you going to do about it? Kind of. It's like a taunt. Yeah.
And then she leaves the gate open. I mean, does she know her son's coming back? Is she waiting for another one of these? Like, does she think he's going to kill her? Like, what?
Yeah, because
you never know.
Because maybe there is an element of her being just like sick of everything, which is maybe why she's doing these things that a self-destructive person would do at that party, which is about the celebration of this long-awaited video game that she's helped spearhead, basically. So maybe some people are just like, I'm at this peak and I'm hollow. I'm just unhappy and I don't, all of this means nothing to me. I mean, so maybe she did have some sort of, she did have some sort of wish to just like, okay, come and do your worst, just do it because I'm sick of it. And I've already burned my bridges or reconciled with the people I need to reconcile with. So just do it. I don't know that she could have, I don't know if she anticipated Vincent showing up to save the day.
Another question. Where do you find friends like Anna? I know the story, but Anna's a good friend.
Yeah, I get serious summer camp vibes from the two of them. Yeah, actually.
Well, they said that, right? We tried, but we just laughed the whole time. Like, they said they tried to have a
relationship. Yeah. And I like the way Verhoeven leads into that because I guess Elle is at Anna's place because of what's happened, and it's just this brief moment where Verhoeven shows Anna disrobing for a second, but it gives like this little sort of, I don't know what you would call it, kind of sexual ease or whatever, just kind of freeing kind of thing before she puts her nightgown on and gets into bed next to Elle, even though they don't do anything. But that kind of, there's just like this so much insinuation going on, but it's again very, very subtle. So I get, it's definitely the summer camp story,
And then at the end, she just, I kicked my husband out. He was drinking too much. But I'm going to move in with you. You're like, what is... And then her son has it's a very nice ending.
Yeah. I was kind of like, maybe if the movie hits a bum note for me, and maybe I need to watch it again to just sort of absorb it all in. It's that ending where there's just one reconciliation after another after what she's done, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, you'd think she'd burned a lot of bridges, but I guess it makes sense because Anna's cool with her. Anna thought Robert was a bit of a louse, I guess, anyway, so she kicked him out, yeah. And, so I guess, okay, maybe it's not so bad. But I like how Verhoeven puts a twist in it with the dialogue that you mentioned earlier, Mark, from Rebecca, who was like, had some sort of awareness of what Patrick was doing. Now, in another movie, that scene would go totally differently. And when Elle walks up to her at the moving van, I was thinking, okay, they're going to have some weird dialogue exchange, but you don't expect that to come out, and you didn't expect it to come out from Rebecca, who just seems very happy-go-lucky, very put together, very successful. Yeah.
All right, 2 random questions for you.
Oh, boy.
Did Helene think that Richard was another author? Do you remember that dialogue? So there's a scene in the movie where he and Helene broke up.
Yes.
And he asked her what her favorite book of his was. Mm-hmm. And she brings up another book written by a guy with the same last name. Or close to the same name. So did she think he was more successful than what he was?
I would be willing to believe that. Yeah.
I think bad.
I do feel like there is a sense of the familiar with that type of relationship. Actually, you know what I rewatched last night that has a similar kind of relationship scenario
Kramer
going on?
Versus Kramer?
No, close though. I rewatched Candyman.
Oh gosh.
And it's Xander Berkeley is cheating on Virginia Madsen with one of his grad students. So it was kind of like, yeah, I could totally see that being the thing. She's like, oh, I thought you were this guy, or maybe I'm just infatuated with the notion of being with an older man, and or it could have been just a way to kind of twist the knife a little bit in the poor guy, if she did know who he was actually.
And did he know that it was Michelle who whomped his car? Right? Because she backs up into that thing and smushes it.
I love that scene so much. And when you first see it, the first time you watch it, you're like, you don't know whose car that is and why is she doing that. I love that. Oh no, absolutely. I do think she knew what she was doing, because when she walks to her car, she's a little like flip about it. She's like, oh, it'll just come back together, and it doesn't. It'll just snap back into place.
Because like when she told him that it got hit, did he know that she did it? Right? Does that make sense?
You know what, Mark? Now that you're talking about it, I'm having doubts because of everything else in this movie being so like nuanced. I'm like, oh, maybe, because you know what? Here's the thing. Oh, I'm getting it mixed up with the scene later on where she smashes the window and that's Helene's car. So that's another car. Something about Isabelle Huppert, and I've only seen a couple of her movies. She is again, I've said this already, but she's very enigmatic in the way she looks and the way she expresses herself. Like her eyes always seem to be judging you, but her mouth always seems to be kind of like, seems ingratiating kind of, it's like, oh, I like you, but my eyes don't like you kind of thing. So I think, just in a roundabout way, perhaps that was part of Verhoeven's strategy in casting her, is because there's that element of mystery and in her presence, kind of. So maybe she didn't know that was his car, and maybe it was just a total accident. Man, you're making me reconsider pretty much everything about this movie. So. And
I love that scene where after she breaks the window and maces him, she helps his eyes out, and then she's like, wine? And he goes, yeah. Right? He says, yeah, sure.
And he's like, I like how he's complaining. It's like, oh, I'm going to go blind or whatever. And she's like saying, just knock it off. Basically, she's like, oh, don't be a baby about it. Just suck it up, kind of.
Wine? Yeah, sure.
And you see his eyes are like totally like puffy and irritated, because she was like right close doing that too.
I like when she tells the cat that cat should have scratched the eyes out.
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, doesn't she ask her husband? She's like, "Am I tight for my age?"
Oh God, yes. And here's the other thing. I was going to mention this, which I thought was very disturbing, because it's within that time frame after the first assaults happened. She's in a restaurant talking on the phone with Robert, I believe, and she's getting ready to she's talking on the phone, and he's talking about, hey, why don't you come over later? And she's like,